Cooperative Legacy Project Interview number 19, October 14th, 2005. We're visiting with Bob Sperl Sr., longtime Cooperative and Farmers Union activist in Gregory County. Bob, where were you born at?
Just on the farm about 8 miles northeast of Gregory.
Okay, and when was that?
1933.
1933, okay. Where was your family originally from?
They were from right here. My dad's folks originated by Osmond, Nebraska.
Okay.
Come over here from Czechoslovakia.
Oh, okay.
My mom's side, they come from Czechoslovakia, and they moved in here when the Homestead days in 1904.
Oh, okay. Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, got one brother that passed away in 1966, I think. Mm-hmm. One sister lives by Indianapolis, Indiana right now.
Okay. What was your father's name?
Ed.
Ed, okay. You want to talk about him a little bit?
Well, he was a longtime cooperative activist too. He was a director on this Rosebud Farmers Union co-op for, I'm guessing, about 8 years. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of the second generation, when it started. It was in the 40s when he was on, and it started in 39 or 40 when it started. So, and he was on a real soil conservation director for a great big number of years. Him and a bunch of neighbors started the Gregory County Soil Conservation District. I'm not sure what years, I suppose in the middle 40s, 41 to 45, someplace in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What was your mother's name?
Ethel.
Okay. What sort of a person was she?
Oh, she was strong in Farmers Union. She was, when we had the old locals, we had the Alloway local, and there was a whole number of locals in the county. She was the education director for a number of years, and they were real active in the local Farmers Union. Mm-hmm.
What are some of your earliest memories on the farm, or did you call it a farm or a ranch down here?
It was a farm. It was farm ranching.
Yeah.
It was always
yeah, both cattle and
we milk cows by hand. I remember that when I went to high school. We hauled milk into the lunchroom. Milk cows in the morning and put it in a 5-gallon cream can or 5 whatever they needed, 5 or 8 gallon, and hauled it in, and the kids ate that raw milk out of our cows in Gregory High School.
Never lost any of them.
No, not that I know of.
They don't frown. They kind of frown on it.
Well, yeah, it'd make kids wouldn't dare touch it now that way.
Well. Was life on the farm different back then than it is now?
Oh yes, it's a lot different. Kids, you always had chores to do, and now there's a lot of farmers that don't have many chores to do outside of their main field work, and so the difference it probably would be in just the actual chores that the younger kids, every kid had a step that he could do, and
lot less diversification today as far as variety of things on the farm?
Well, right in our area, we're still diversified. We're diversified too much. It costs us too much the way it's looking right now. There's a lot of ranching going on that's with the farming, so it works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What kind of jobs did you do on the farm when you were young?
Oh, about most everything. First tractor was an old regular international tractor that I plowed with, and you had to grab the brake and turn at the same time, and that was hard when you didn't know what you were doing. And most everything. I enjoyed the cattle. Dad run quite a few stock cows at that time, and what milking we done was no big deal. And I love the stock cattle part of it. The hay and I really enjoyed that. I'm getting too old. I don't enjoy it near as much right now.
Well, even that is a little different. It used to be with the little round bales as opposed to the big ones.
We won one of the first ones that had one of them little Alice Chalmers balers, and they always said when they didn't work, he just sat down and cried beside them, and then you got back on 20 minutes later and everything worked.
Do you have any? You were born in 1933. Do you have any memories from the Dust Bowl? From
Not
the 30s
really.
and what it was like around here?
Not really, unless it was in '39. We might have had some dust storms. I can remember, black clouds coming, but whether they were the true dust storms or just a big rain cloud coming and blew a lot of dirt, I basically I don't.
Okay. Did you go to country school?
Yes.
Where was that at? Was
Just a mile and 3/4 from home, and
okay, and you walk?
we walked uphill both ways, Then when I was a 7th, 8th grader, we had horses. My sister and me were there, and we rode horses, when it was decent. And always had a little barn on every school where you could keep a little hay for the horse during the day, and then ride him home.
There's people hear stories about blizzards catching kids at school. Did you ever have that happen?
We got caught when I was in the 3rd grade. We got caught and we stayed there 2 days. We had neighbors or people that lived just across the road from us, but that night when school got turned out, the teacher wouldn't let us go, so we just hunkered down in the school with coats and a few blankets that he had on hand as a man teacher that time, and we stayed there all night. And then late the next day, the neighbor brought a team and wagon down, and we hauled us home then.
Okay. Where did you go to high school here in Gregory?
I went to high school in Gregory. Gregory for 2.5 years, and I graduated from Burke.
Oh, okay.
In the last year and a half, I went to Burke.
Was there a rivalry between the two towns then?
Oh, yes.
There still must be, because I think they turned down the merger recently.
There's a real rivalry right now, and there was then too. Yet.
What was high school like back in those days? This had been late 40s.
In
early
48, 49. I graduated. I missed 1 year. I graduated in 52. I was a year behind because I had 1 year I had polio when I was, and I missed a full year of school. But it's a lot different. We drove. Dad bought in 49. Started school in Gregory in 48. In 49, he bought a 4-wheel drive Jeep, and my brother and me and sister drove back and forth then. But we always seemed to make it home. Blizzard of, 51, 52 in there. We stayed in town quite a bit because we couldn't get out. Nobody could get out, actually, so we didn't drive back and forth then.
Did they have kind of like what you call storm homes?
Yes.
I think places where you'd stay in town?
Well, my grandfolks lived in town, so we had a pretty good place.
Okay.
That worked out real good.
You mentioned you had polio. When did that happen?
I was 14 in the fall. And I don't know, we were practicing football, playing, and all of a sudden I got too tired and they took me to Sioux Falls. I was down there 2 weeks at Sioux Valley Hospital, and then come home, and I thought I could go to school, but I couldn't. Mom done my therapy. They had a bathroom with hot water, and my therapy was sitting in a hot tub most of the time. And I come out of it real good. I got weak back and 1 weak leg, but otherwise I'm come out pretty good.
You haven't had any recurrence or anything. I think some people that have had it.
I blame a lot of it on there, but part of it might be getting too old and too lazy.
Was school around here, high school, a lot different then than it is now?
Oh yes, the amount of traveling that kids do that they see, in the state, out of the state, and everything else that we never, in my time, we never did get to do a lot of traveling for the school or with the school.
Yeah.
And basically, education-wise, we had good education then, because in my classes there's a number of doctors and a lot of, not too many lawyers, but doctors and a couple of veterinarians even on the same age as me that graduated. So I think our education part was just as good then as it is today.
Did you go to college?
Nope.
Did you think about it?
No.
Didn't.
No.
You were ready to go right into farming?
Well, yeah. Got married when I was 19, so that you know how that ends.
Was farming what you wanted to do when you were younger?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. When did your family become active in Farmers Union? You mentioned your dad was.
All folks were, I'd say, as soon as I don't know when Gregory County really got organized.
Yeah.
They were organized in the 30s, and then they kind of reorganized during the war years. I'd say in the early 40s, and they really got active in it.
Yeah, I think I've seen a picture of a picnic down in St. Charles, so they were around here for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't remember them people. There was Evenson. He was state president for a while. He was out of that St. Charles country, and that was one of the first areas that got organized in Gregory County to be in the southeast corner of Gregory County.
Yeah, I think the early organizers came up from Nebraska.
Yeah.
When did the cooperative here get organized?
Well, it started, my granddad Curzon, my mom's dad, I imagine, I'm guessing a little bit, but about 1939, they actually started selling shares to have a station at Clome. Now, I don't know what kind of, I don't think it just, I don't know if it's an oil station or just a commodity part. And I think this one here would have been in 41 then, when it got moved down to Gregory. And then from Clome it went to Dallas. It was in Dallas for a year and a half.
Oh, okay, so this one kind of moved around.
Yeah, it just come on down, yes.
Okay.
Down, I guess, down 18.
Yeah. Was there one down at Burke, or
no?
They never had one down
They had
there.
a farmer's elevator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a good relations between? When did the elevator over at Dallas get started?
Probably about the same time, because then when they split and they bought they called it the old Vulcan station down middle of Gregory Main Street in 40 or 41. I think it's 40, fall of 40 when they opened up.
Yeah.
And so Dallas elevator, it was a separate one, but it got started right in there, probably a little bit earlier, the elevator part.
Was there a relationship at all between the various co-ops in the county?
Real good between Dallas and Gregory for a great number of years, yes.
And then with the Farmers Union, with these various co-ops too?
Yes, real good.
Pretty much the organizers?
Yes.
Yeah. What were some of the local activities around here then? What was like the Farmers Union or the co-ops doing in addition to the regular business?
Well, Gregory County Farmers Union for a big number of years, we had a great big fall picnic, and had the tug of war between the people south of Highway 18 and north of Highway 18 versus, some of that. Softball rivalries, and we had county meeting once a month, and then there was a lot of active locals. There was a great number of active locals right around the Gregory area.
You said you graduated from high school in 1952.
Yes.
Did you? Were you in the military?
Nope.
You weren't. Okay. When did you meet your wife? What was her name? Lila?
Lila, yeah. Oh, I suppose 49. I don't know.
Okay. And you were married right away, or?
We were married when 1952.
52, okay.
In the fall of 52.
And you have kids?
Yes.
How many?
2 boys and 2 girls.
Okay. One of you got a son here.
Yes.
Where are the other ones at?
One works in town here, and right now he's working with a construction outfit. And the oldest boy's farming with him and his son, and they do a lot of my work too. And then I got a daughter out here. Her and her husband run this North 40 Ag Service, and then I got a daughter in Spearfish.
Okay. There's a Sperl that's publisher of the newspaper here. Is that a relative?
That's
too?
my daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. When did you first personally get involved in Farmers Union?
Oh, I remember when Mom was education leader in that Alloway local. She worked us. We had skits, and none of us could sing, but we had a lot of skits and stuff that we put on. There was about, 4 or 5 families that in my age group, the kids are in that she worked with, and that's probably when I got, and I imagine that had to have been in 42, 43, someplace in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was then quite a bit of activity in the county.
Yes,
back in
real good
those
activity.
years. Yeah. What did you and your family like about cooperatives as opposed to other businesses? You've been involved in them for a long time.
Well, basically, you look for service first, and then the savings is another real good thing to look at. And this co-op here has had a tremendous good record for savings, and most of our elevators did until the elevators are getting in a crisis right now. We know that it's happening all over.
It used to be grain storage payments from the federal government that were very supportive for elevators. Yeah. When were you first elected? Did you get elected right after your dad was on the board, or was it sometime later?
No, it was later, 1963 when I was
63.
Yeah,
okay.
when I first got elected to this board.
Okay. And your father had been on in the 40s?
I'm guessing the late 40s, someplace in there.
Okay. And you were active in both of this and the cooperative over in Dallas?
No, just this one here.
Just this
yes,
one, okay.
Yes.
But you patronized that one?
Yes, I patronized that for years and years.
Mm-hmm. And you must have a rural electric cooperative down here too.
We got a real good one here.
Mm-hmm.
Rosebud Electric.
Mm-hmm. And you probably remember getting electricity out on the farm.
I remember we got it 1950 or 51 there.
Mm-hmm.
And tell you the truth, they just pulled some of them poles out and replaced them with new ones this last summer.
So they had the same poles?
Yeah, few of them got broke off in ice storms and stuff, but the majority of them poles lasted that from 51 to 2005, I guess you could say it. And if you're a landowner, you got the old poles for nothing. So I wound up with about 10 poles.
So what was that like when you finally turned the lights on? Was that
the dad had he started. I remember we started out in the 40s there with the little wind charger. We run a radio and a light bulb about all it, and then he got a 32-volt wind charger. And then he got a 32-volt light plant that charged batteries up, and that'd last till about the time he needed lights, why the batteries went dead. So then he had an automatic 110-volt right before REA come in, and that worked real good. But you couldn't afford the gas at that time. Every time a light bulb kicked on, the motor kicked on, but it worked. So we were with Dad's way he had it going, and we were used to electricity before the REA come on, but it made a big difference because it was there, night and day that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You were elected to the board here in 1963. Did you start as just a regular director?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What sort of issues was the co-op dealing with in 1960s or mid-60s?
Oh, nothing drastic, I don't think. Same thing with accounts receivable and big problem. We weren't expanding right then, because I know we were still hauling a lot of fertilizer out in bags at that time, and just a few years later, like from 69 on, that's when the big expansion really took place here. Because we had the old fertilizer shed sits behind the station right now. I imagine that was in effect in about 65, 66, and then 69 we moved we were still uptown with the major office and the gas station. I'd be guessing, but I suppose in the middle 70s we moved down here.
Mm-hmm. Did you have pretty good local leadership at that time?
Yes, but I think I was real happy with it at that time, yes.
Good run of managers here over the years?
I worked for 2 managers when I was in high school. Jack Bergman was the second manager of the co-op. I can't think of the guy's first name that was here. And then Bob Pashton took over, and I worked for him. And then I served as the director. Bob Pashton was still manager then, and it's been Bob Pashton, and Ken Pistolka, and then Ken Dooley, and then Joe Frosch. That's the managers that I've since I've been affiliated with the co-op, either as a patron or a director.
Yeah. Who are some of the other people you worked with? What sort of folks were they? I mean, some of the people who served on the board of directors here over the years. Did you get a chance to serve with any of the original organizers?
Not the real original organizers. Some of the second ones. Tom Lapworth would have been one of the first ones I could think of. Paul Volsky, Bert Kingsbury, and then Woody Sinkler was on. See, Woody's dad was one of the original ones, and then a year or two later, well, they were on when I got on. Like this Harold Robertson out here, he's a well-known rancher for the whole family, and had a neighbor, Meyer Mickelson, was on. At one annual meeting, I had a whole list of them, but I can't think of. There's now we got a fairly good set of younger, not real young, but in the 50s down to maybe from the 60s on down. There's a variation.
Your son is he still served on the board?
No, he's off. He's
off the board now.
Yeah.
Okay. But he did serve a term?
Term 2 years. I think he served 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Outside of the local here, did you get a chance to meet and work with any other folks like from the regionals and so on that you remember?
We went to the like annual meetings a few years back. Earlier when I was there, but then I don't know. It seemed like nobody's got time to go anymore. But really not directly with them, but. With the feed, we sell a lot of feed out of this local co-op, and the GTA handled that for years and years, and now it's Senex Harvest State. So, and some of them, even what's the chairman of the CHS now? What's his name?
John Johnson.
John Johnson. See, he used to sell feed out of winter.
Oh, okay.
And talk about deer hunting. He's a good deer hunter.
He hunted on your place?
I don't think he did that time, but we always kidded him about shooting the doe, the fawn by the doe.
Do you think that it's important for local cooperatives to be active as far as sending people to regional meetings and participating in that?
We were probably pretty lax here, but it's real important. It's that way you know what's going on the top, the top end, and I still think the whole organization with Senex and Senex Harvest State, it's all still run from the bottom up. It isn't run from the top down. So.
Yeah. There was a difference. So they did consider a merger with Farmland Industries before they collapsed. They had managers that served on the board. Did you think that was a good idea?
I think that was one of their downfalls. Yeah. We went to one meeting before, when Senex was kind of pushing to merge with them, and all it took was one meeting. John Johnson was there that day, and they changed their mind quick when they got the input from the local people that day. It was I know the meeting was up in here, and there was a pretty good group there, and I think they talked them out of it real quick, and good thing they did, because what happened later on, everybody knows. So.
You've been active in both the cooperatives. When were you elected County Farmers Union president? You did that for a long time.
I was too long because I didn't accomplish much because I gave up on these young people coming in, and I shouldn't have. I imagine I was on there about 15 years. So, got a new president right now. Sherman Vamachka is our new president, and he'll do real good. he's young enough and in between the ages that he's going to do real good. I know that. So.
And been to Washington. I
Yes,
know.
he has. He's been there probably a couple, 3 times.
What about cooperative education? Do you think there's enough of that going on?
No, I think we should have more. You know, 'cause a lot of people don't understand that the co-op, the services first, and like I said, then that actual savings. I don't know the book. We find a book but we could tell you what we put back in this community here. It's a tremendous amount of dollars that come back into the community, and I suppose it's a $6 million station right now. I'm kind of guessing there because I haven't been in here enough. But we started out a little bit, but in I think it was 1966 or something like that. We had every dividend paid up in full at that time, and then from then on now we're by age groups paying up now.
We had I attended the Co-op Month banquet up in Mitchell last week, and the guest speaker referred to cooperatives as a market correction tool.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what they?
Everybody will base their prices on what the co-op's charging. It's true even in your grain marketing, where we haven't had a private co-op elevator here for in the late, probably early middle 70s when the last private one went out of this area. And they'll always base it on what the grain or fuel or whatever moves. They'll base it on what a co-op's doing.
You have transportation is always a problem. Do you have is there rail transportation out over at Dallas or not?
No.
So that's a difficulty for them, certainly.
Everything's got to be trucked in and trucked out, and that's a problem.
You were you ever on the district farmers union board, or?
I was just like education or legislative legislative director probably.
Okay. You've been involved for a long time. Are there any of the state farmers union leaders that kind of stand out to you as?
Well, old Paul Upstall, I can barely remember him. But he was one of them fiery type, and then Ben Radcliffe come along, kind of the more moderate. But Ben's one of the that really makes me think of good people that were on there. And then there's a young one, Leland. Look what happened. Leland Swenson has to be mentioned in there. And then Dennis Weiss, I think his youngness going in done us a lot of good. We needed a revamp of probably more ideas out of younger people, and I think we have them, and I think everything's working pretty decent right now.
Okay. You've been to some farmers union events. You've been on. You went on. I know on at least one farm, Washington.
I was to Washington once. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Got a chance to meet the president.
I shook hands with President Bill Clinton that time.
Yeah.
I come home. That's my I don't know, my honor. I guess that I did have that chance. And
do you think that sort of activity is important for farm and ranch people to participate in events like going into D.C. to do a little citizen lobbying?
I think it does real good when it's organized to what we're talking about. If everybody went there and no organization, you'd have 40 different ideas where one or two will do a lot of good. Where the more you get people, and I got to keep doing it because that's the only way. We know where our senators and representatives sit here, but them out of state, from that aren't connected to our state or connected to our economics even,
Mm-hmm.
they got to be educated, and they can get educated if they want to themselves. But this helps them when you're direct person on person.
Mm-hmm. When did you retire from the Rosebud Board? It's not very long ago.
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was after how many years?
Oh, about 30 some.
Yeah.
It's a few too
30,
many.
you said 63.
Yeah.
That's almost 40
yeah,
years.
just about 40 years.
Oh.
I was secretary treasurer for, I'm kind of guessing, I suppose 6-7 years, and then I was chairman for about the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you talking about some of the things you were proud of as far as your service on the board and the board, or the co-op's record during that time. You want to talk about that a little bit?
One of the things I mentioned that night, there was only 1 year that I was on there that we actually went in the hole in no savings period. There'd been a few years there wasn't very much, but like I said, we'd have to look the numbers up. But we put out a lot of dollars in this community in dividends and we're in savings, and we expanded good. Right now, I wish we'd expanded our fertilizer shed more, because we could always buy cheaper fertilizer and pass it on to the farmers or make money on it or whatever. But now you can't get fertilizer, and it's, to get it in right now, you start piling it up. You got tremendous amount of dollars involved. And
yeah. Have they noticed a lot of increase in costs coming up as a result of a higher petroleum?
The talks is going to be a tremendous increase.
Yeah.
Oh, and we were one of the first ones. Any new machinery in the fertilizer departments or the fuel, we kept up with the times real well. I was real happy with that, and one of the first ones to have a floater, air floater, spreading fertilizer, and a lot of people plant their grain that way now. They blow it on with the seed and the fertilizer together, and
there are a lot of challenges facing organizations and cooperatives both. Those challenges have changed over the years. What do you feel like are the biggest changes as far as what issues business cooperatives and farm organization has to deal with?
Well, competition never hurt anybody, so it isn't the competition. It's the way the economics, worldwide, with just few bigger corporations controlling they're controlling it from the top down completely. And I don't know, that's probably what's happening to our co-op grain elevators a lot, because there's only 4 or 5 people that want to buy it from them at the end, and in this energy deal, that's what's scary. I'm scared of the country as a whole with the energy way it's going, and I imagine even if you got a refinery going, you can make big money now. But it's the consumer is going to pay the bill at the end, whether he's a farmer or a guy driving up and down the street.
But there's a little bit of stress if you have production costs that you can't.
That's
recoup.
right. We're like this farming out in my sons and mine, we're about, I'd guess, pretty close to 100% no-till. And that saved us a lot of energy, but we're at the end. We can't, I don't know how we can go any lower with costs, because our fuel bill, I know, has went down until you start harvesting now and putting it in a truck and trying to get it to a market of some kind.
Is there anything you think could be done about that issue?
Well, the refinery part, that's the excuse. We haven't got enough, not enough refinery capacity, and they don't get built overnight. We know that.
Cenex has, of course, their refinery at Laurel, Montana,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as I think they have most of the interest in the one at McPherson,
Yes.
Kansas now. Does that make a difference for the regional, certainly, as opposed to the private oil people?
It should, and I remember just reading what the Cenex sends a monthly magazine or whatever, quarterly. They put a tremendous amount of money back in there, and I don't think these other refinery major companies just kind of sat there and, because there was millions and millions went into that Laurel refinery to get it up to federal EPA standards or whatever what they use, and if Cenex can do it, I can't see why the big monsters can't do it.
Mm-hmm. What sort of advice would you give someone today who was thinking about maybe becoming active either in the farm organization or in the cooperative here?
Well, become a patron and they'll learn a lot as far as the co-ops go. And then there's different organizations. Farmer Union isn't the only one. We got that RICO in here, and I think they're doing a good job. I belong to RCAF since it got started. I think RCAF is a specialty. They're basically cattlemen, but Farmers Union is still the old basic organization that covers everything. They probably cover too much. It's hard to cover too much once in a while, but at least we're involved in a lot of different spots. Our cost of our dues, that's minor anymore, but everybody, when you raise them, well, then they start thinking different. And I got questions with all the checkoffs that the average farmer is involved in. I know we got to advertise our products, but I always wonder what the top dog on the totem pole up there is getting. You can find out, I guess. But we got corn checkoff, wheat checkoff, soybean checkoff, cattle checkoff. Oh, there's more than that yet, and all. It's a lot of dollars that you pay in dues indirectly that way, because that poor old cow that has a calf, and that calf is checked off about 4 times before it's slaughtered. Why, somebody's paying the bill. And
do you see a strong continuing future for the local co-op here? There's a lot of pressure on co-ops to maybe merge with other co-ops, or there's a trend toward regionalization, which means the regional actually owns the local co-op.
I think this one's in good enough financial shape right now that we no big problem, but we get a drought here or these low commodity or grain prices now it's gonna put pressure on your accounts receivable and everything. And see, like in
we're talking about the local cooperative and your thoughts on the future of local co-ops, and this one in particular.
We merged with the Fairfax Farmers Union Oil Company, and I'm kind of guessing there again, middle 70s, late 70s. And it expanded our business pretty well countywide then. So from the southeast corner clear to the Tripp County, or into Tripp County even. And we did buy a fertilizer plant out in Springview as a private fertilizer plant. We run it three or 4 years, and it wasn't paying, so we dropped it. But other than, I imagine there's going to be more mergers on the smaller co-ops. I think this one here is decent enough financial shape or large enough that it can survive.
Rural communities have also changed a lot over the years. How has this one changed from when it was when you were younger?
Well, shortage of kids school age is our big problem right now. It's, just like Gregory High School, they had 800 and some total school age children, and now I think they're down just a little over 300, and it's all the way through the county that way.
Does that impact churches too in the county?
It has.
Other community institutions?
Yes, it has to. It impacts everything. On down. We got the traffic through here. You got to have footprints in every door to make it work, and if they're not there, why it'd go through the whole system. Like Gregory County, we're down to 4,500 total people right now, and basically, we look back at, they got a preliminary sentence since 2000 to 2003. We lost 300 more. So our footprints are disappearing too fast for to keep.
Yeah. What's the biggest influence on that population loss right now, do you think?
Well, economics. Farming, you try to expand to get more economically, and I don't know, there are less farmers, less people. When you got less farmers, you need less people to service them, and it's just.
Is there a lot of the young people left?
They're leaving. Too many of them are leaving. We got, in certain areas, we got a group of young farmers. What I call young farmers is probably anybody in their middle 50s on down. And but there's certain areas where there's a number of them. But at 55, 56-year-old, it don't, 10 years down the road, and that changes, and we're not having that 25 to 30-year-old kid come back and start unless he's got a running start with a parent or somebody.
Mm-hmm. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
Well, I better be optimistic, but there's things to be pessimistic about. Just right now, we're kind of a drought year. Parts of the county's good shape, but these grain prices, we can't. There's no way in the world we can come out with that with the $1.50, 60-cent corn here, and the cattlemen here, if you got cattle, but everybody hasn't got cattle, and they're setting pretty decent shape. Cost-wise, it's going to catch up with them too, though. So,
is there much corn raised around here now?
Yes,
Quite a bit.
there's a lot.
Is of any of the farmers in the county here invested in any of the ethanol plants?
We're always too far away. Platte
yeah.
was the one that got started, and then that fell down. And there's a few invested to start out with that. We should have went east, right to that I-29 corridor where they got, where the big. We should have went there and invested, I guess. But right now, the closest one would be the one opening up in Mitchell, actually.
Mm-hmm. That's a relatively significant, from what I hear at least, economic advantage for the. I think something around 10,000 farmers in South Dakota who are owners of one or more of those. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? Any thoughts on anything that I didn't ask you about?
Oh, I don't know. I happen to be county commissioner right now. I'm influx on these tax bases. Probably the wrong place to bring it up, but this ag land is getting gouged pretty good on taxes, and the way the system is set up in South Dakota.
You think we need a different tax system?
Yes, I believe in a different. Of course, the only good tax is the tax somebody else pays, but I think we're paying a little bit more in our share right now. Other than that, if people would realize what good the co-op effort totally has done, for the last, I guess, since the Depression years when it really got pushed, because you could see it coming that the private guy was going to take all he could, and then I don't know if he left or what happened, but they weren't given the benefits the co-op can give any place, and services and savings and just all around community effort, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the younger people have not been around when there wasn't a co-op to have an influence on things.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Not really I can think of offhand. Tomorrow morning I'll think of something.
Well, that's always the case. We've been visiting with Bob Sperl. Thank you for your participation in the Cooperative Legacy Project.